so much for joining us for another week of Take Two. I wanted to make sure these two had not already been arguing without me because I like it to be all fresh, but I feel like you may have argued about something already.
We broke that rule a little bit. We had a little bit out there. We were just kind of not arguing, but just kind of bantering.
Some sparklers, minor fireworks, which speaking of fireworks this week, I don't know about your neighborhoods, but it's been rocking and rolling for days now. And I think last night was the last legal day to set them off. So hopefully we can sleep again at night without the sound of bombs bursting in air. But I want to talk a little bit about fireworks because there's been a lot of talk about them in recent years. People upset about possible fires, the nastiness it causes in our air because we're trying to clean our air up, but we're like, we really want to blow stuff up. Did we go too far? I believe it was 2011 where I think we let more aerials go, and once we had aerials, people started just burning their money. People were so excited to buy fireworks. Was this a good idea, or do we need to roll it back a little?
I'm feeling a little bit like an environmental killjoy here because I want to roll it back a little. Like our neighborhood, they're everywhere. So some things though for me that would be important. One is air quality is undeniably a hard issue in Utah. And fireworks, to just geek for a minute, fireworks are PM 2.5 and PM 10s. And so these go directly. Now I know it goes away, I know it flows away, but every bad air quality day, I read that Ogden City's worst air quality day last year was July 4th, not the winter. But I feel a little bit like a killjoy, and I think we can do things. I think it would be interesting if our cities recommitted to some public displays that maybe gathered our communities. But it feels like it's a really big compromise for maybe a little bit of joy and love. I know
it's hard though. The question is, can we dial it back because people love to blow stuff up?
Well, how's that saying go? What is it? Rockets, red glare, bombs bursting in air. What's that? Our national anthem?
It is.
Yeah, 4th of July. You talking 4th of July?
I know, but do we
what
really
do you hate America here?
No,
this is Americana we're talking about. We are going to absolutely light our fireworks and celebrate this country's
Shouldn't
birthday.
we just be setting off guns at that point then?
Setting off guns, that's dangerous.
I was 10 with the little sparkler thing you want to run around with. I'm sure that would be great air quality. This is a holiday. It's a time we come together. We're not Republicans. We're not Democrats. We love our country.
Asthmatic.
We're celebrating.
We don't have health risks.
Now look.
We can't breathe.
So I will tell you, the windows of time where you can use them, I mean, if you want to shrink it just to the holidays themselves of the 4th of July and the 24th, you get no complaint from me. I have dogs. They do not appreciate the 4th of July.
You just need a deaf dog like my dog was.
Or the 24th.
Right.
My dogs do not appreciate these holidays like I do. I never want to lose that opportunity. I love the fact that we light fireworks, and I do. I think communities get together. You get the little cul-de-sac of fire in your neighborhood where everybody's doing it. It's fun. It's great. It's a celebration. But, if you want to shrink it down to the holidays themselves, those days, I think that'd be fine. But I don't want to lose
fireworks. So, there's a lot now that don't have the same combustible whatever.
Yeah, they're called you throw them to the ground and they make a sound. They're little snappers. We need more than that. That is not land of the free, home of the brave stuff. Okay, we need the aerials.
We need Wyoming.
Yes.
I'm just not fun. I would get rid of them altogether. My son was trying to earn money before the 4th because he wanted to buy like a $100 pack. Oh. And I was like, let's just burn a $100 bill and go viral on YouTube. But that's against the law.
That's right.
I know.
Your boy's on the right track.
He's on the right track.
That is
blowing stuff up.
That is Americana.
That's right.
Love it.
13-year-old boys need. All right, let's talk about medical marijuana right now. Equally controversial. I thought we were going to get into a pathway here where all was going to be quiet till it was organized, but that didn't happen. So this week, the state said they would pick 10 different growers or manufacturers to make sure that we had the medical marijuana we needed. They only chose 8, and they said maybe it was because we were going to have too much. Can we have too much medical marijuana? Is that a problem?
It's a supply and demand issue, and if you have too much supply, then the operators or the specialized medical cannabis pharmacies that would provide them would be hard to operate and see a profit if you had so much supply.
So why are they suing then? Because the ones who are suing are the ones who didn't get picked.
Right.
So
I think they want to be picked. I think they're just mad they weren't picked. And
so I think what they're saying, I think, is that they qualified. They met the criteria.
Correct.
They weren't crazy. And that the state said 10. And so why is the state controlling the supply and demand? Why isn't the market controlling the supply and demand?
So I'd have to look back at the legislation because I know we set an amount.
Square footage
I thought we were going to grow no, I didn't intend that pun. We're going to grow into that number. There was going to be a set number, and then there was that opportunity that is, if there was a higher demand, that you'd be able to license more cultivation centers. I don't know if they pared back the original number,
Right.
or if people were expecting the number that we thought you would grow into ultimately is the number that could have been chosen. I don't know the
Can
details of that.
marijuana not be like food storage? Here in Utah, I feel like if you grow too much, you can it, you freeze it,
That's
you
right.
dry it. Can you not do that with marijuana? If you get extras, just save it for the next year?
It's a whole new market now. A
Yeah.
2-year supply, I heard. You know?
Yeah, a 2-year
that would
supply of
be- that would be a new
marijuana.
market. Yeah. No,
Everybody needs some.
what the state? I had a little role in this part before
A
I left
small
as speaker.
role, yes.
We tried to find common ground with different groups, but what I think we're trying to do as a state is find a way, as medicine, not on the recreational side, and we have many states that have decided, Colorado, Nevada, California, that it's recreational. But if it is medical cannabis for people that are suffering and need access to it, we wanted to find a responsible but regulated way, much
Yeah.
like medicine is.
Right.
We don't have the FDA. We don't have the apparatus or the scaffolding that medicine typically has. So we don't just want to use the banner of the word medicine and mislead the public that it's medicine if we didn't have any regulatory climate. So we tried to find a way to, when it grows to a certain amount, you tag that, you know what those plants are, you figure out if it's going to be a pill or if it's going to be an edible, which we allow, all those different things. So there is that process that's being stood up right now. In the meantime, though, I think the public needs to know that in the meantime, if you have a doctor that would recommend, not prescribe, but recommend medical cannabis
Yeah.
for, it is legal in the state of Utah right now to have that. And so it has to be in a dosable form, an amount that's dosed, which
So you could
is
drive
the
across
case.
the border, you
Yes.
could go to
And
Wendover.
you would not be you would not be on the wrong side of the law. It has to have a dose amount, and then you would have to be able to produce at some point that prior to being found with it, that you had a doctor that recommended that for your health, and that is legal today. What we're waiting for is Utah's ability to deliver that in state, and the state running something like that needs to be stood up, and so that's where you're seeing the cultivation centers being licensed and things.
All right, let's see where the courts decide on that. I feel like a lot of people wish that they had some medical marijuana on, was it Wednesday? Was that the Mueller testimony day? To make it a little more carefree and
Smooth
with
out
more
the
fun.
6 hours.
It was a lot of talking. And one quote here from one of our representatives, Bishop, he says, the book was better than the movie. And I think this is what the sell was from Republicans, that it was boring. We already read it. We knew what was going to be there. Did you watch? Were you bored? Full disclosure, I didn't watch.
I watched some.
Yeah,
listened
it's a
to
lot of
some.
hours.
It's a lot of hours. It's a lot of hours. Okay, I am going to defend Mueller. Here's what I think happened.
Yeah, a lot of
So
people are
brave.
eating him alive after
Everybody's
his
eating
testimony.
him alive.
Yeah.
Both sides of the aisle.
I think that the Dems may have made a strategic misfire there with setting it up. And we should talk about, Democrats, Republicans, and the misfire. Mueller said everything, I wrote it down. He said, I'm a serious guy. He said, I'm boring. He said, I'm not going to tell you anything that you haven't heard before.
So he was
I'm not going to
honest.
answer. So here's what he did. He was consistent, and that's no good. He was boring, that's no good. He didn't play politics, that's no good. So we're jumping on stage notes and stavecasting of a Mueller, where he said, this is exactly what it's going to happen when I show up. This is what it's going to look like when I show
Yeah.
up. And he delivered just on that. But we want to see the reality TV show that Donald Trump has brought into our lives and politics, and we were disappointed that he didn't want to participate in that. So was he boring? Yes. Did he act his age? He did. Did he answer all the questions? Was he curt? Was he non-responsive? Did he do everything he repeatedly told the Congress that he would do? Yes, he did. And what we have to say is he didn't entertain us enough. So I say he did what he told us he would do. I found him credible. I found him, I didn't watch it all. It's too boring to watch the
Yeah.
whole thing. But I think we're criticizing that he didn't play into the gamesmanship that was intended that day.
A lot of people who are listening, depends on if you're a Democrat or Republican, Democrats wanted to hear that he could be charged with something, that he did something wrong, that was possible. Did you get that from Mueller's testimony, that when he leaves office that he could be charged, or that they should go forward with impeachment hearings.
So the needle didn't get moved at all. I walked out of that day listening to the pundits and everybody going, can't wait until Trump gets out of office because I can't wait until he's indicted. Everything that I believed was built on. Everything that Greg believed was built on. Greg was high-fiving that day with President Trump. He was joining him in the tweets of celebration. Like, we both just dug in a little deeper knowing that our side had won the day, which was a bummer, which is what Mueller told us.
Yeah.
The needle did not get moved.
Did you feel like a winner chicken dinner when it was over
Well,
with?
I think Maura was right. I think it was a misfire by the Democrats. I think that their assessment was people had not read the report.
Yeah.
So if you brought Mueller there for committees and had all the cameras on, that maybe his explanation of what was in the report would be must-see TV, and that it would raise the public's attention, and that there'd be some gotcha moment. I was actually genuinely surprised at he just didn't seem to have a grasp even on some of the questions that were asked. He didn't realize were based on the report. It left me with the opinion or the impression that he wasn't exactly sure what was in that report entirely, because some of the things they were quoting, he was opining on or saying, I don't know if I agree with that, and the member of Congress would say, no, that's it. That's what you wrote in the report.
So are you saying that he had somebody write his book report for him?
Well, he had a lot of people. We know he had a team
lot of
around
writers.
him.
It is true.
I think that, I'll tell you, the one part that I have that's my biggest issue with this whole circus. I don't think we apply the same standards to one another depending on the party that we're in. I just don't believe that you can have, they asked him the question, you have a lot of people that, attorneys working on this that are registered Democrats, or were at Hillary's victory party that night. Did it ever concern you? And he said, I don't look at the backgrounds or the political leanings of the people who work for me, almost like an incredulous answer. Of course we should. If it were the other way around and the people that were going after a Democrat president were all strident or strongly opinionated Republicans, would that come up as an issue? Of course it would.
So I'm sort of bummed that Greg doesn't believe in public service anymore.
I do believe
because
in it.
I do think there are people. He sounded like the former director of the FBI.
I
That's
thought
what
he sounded like a confused.
He sounded like,
guy that
I don't
shouldn't
want to
be on
participate
TV.
in this process. I don't want to be here. I am suspicious, and he is neutral.
No,
I mean,
but the one
I know
thing
that's
is too,
hard.
I found he did share some things that were not consistent. He had to be reminded that some of the things that were being discussed were from his very report. He keeps going back and forth on whether he did not find the president was guilty of any crimes because you can't indict a sitting president. Then he would say, no, that is not the case. He's changed that story 4 times. It's gone from it wasn't the case to that it was. Even in between the 2 hearings on Wednesday, in one hearing he said you can't indict a sitting president, and then he corrected himself in the next hearing to say that statement, we did not base our judgment based on that directive from the Justice Department.
Which is not
he keeps going back. It's not
It was
even a
just a
hard question.
clarification, right?
It is.
It's not
It's not a hard
inconsistent.
question. I don't know why he keeps bouncing back and forth on that basic question.
Craig, he's not.
I think
he's not playing politic.
I don't
That's
think
what
I don't
he's not
think
doing.
the answer is political, but I do think that it wasn't. I don't think it was must-see TV. I don't think it produced anything. Even both sides had some pretty important questions they would have loved to have seen answered.
That's part of
Nobody
the
saw those
problem.
questions
Nobody
answered.
asked questions in these hearings. I did see a few minutes when I was on the treadmill, and I feel like when it's your turn to ask a question, you say what you want people to believe, and then somehow make something at the end to make it be a question. But I feel like
Just
it's like,
raise your voice
It's
again.
just in there. And both sides are there to make a statement and make sure their statement gets heard. So sometimes I feel like these hearings are, I don't know.
The committee members
Not fun.
exhausted me more.
Yes,
I was
listening
like,
to them, it's just
and
like-
here we go. I also, just if I were delivering stage notes to the Democrats, you don't chop it up. You don't every other. You let them run free. You go next, and you discredit them the rest of the time. So just if I'm giving stage notes, that's not how you set up your
All
oppositional
right, so
party.
you need to go talk to them about next time.
But how about this?
Will be
Why
a
don't we
next
do
time.
this? The Democrats, because I don't think they wanted to declare defeat after the Wednesday hearings, are continuing a narrative that they want to continue hearings, investigations, impeachment talk,
Yeah.
all those things.
Yeah.
How about this? Let's talk about the issues that are confronting Americans and Utahns right now that are important, that really need Congress's full attention. Let's stop that. Let's just, how long until that runs its course? Was it Wednesday? I'm hearing it's not. I mean, how long do we play that game? I just think that the cynicism will continue to grow, and I don't know that we're going to win with that same thing being talked about forever.
It is true. And the good news is November 2020, we get a chance to decide who our next president is, which I think is awesome. So if you want someone out of office or in office, you have the ability to do so. If you have not registered to vote, now is the time to do it. Speaking of voting, Utahns have voted with their hearts, apparently. Utah is number 2 in the nation for support nationally for the LGBTQ community. Does this surprise you, Maura? Because we still have issues. There's a tug and a pull because of religious backgrounds and leanings in our state. Is this number 2 well-deserved? Did they ask the wrong people? We have, what was the percentage here? I'm trying to look on my paper.
High 70s, I think,
yeah,
right?
77% of Utahns either favor or strongly favor laws that would protect LGBT people against discrimination in jobs, public accommodations, and housing.
It didn't surprise me. I mean, we've had one of the strongest LGBTQ communities for a long, long time. It goes against sort of maybe our type and our image. It fits the individual Utahn who sees themselves as compassionate.
Yeah.
We've had one of the strongest gay pride parades. We've had these support organizations around for a long time. I am going to make a criticism of this, though. I think it shows how out of step the state legislature is with the feelings of the people. They wouldn't address conversion therapy. They often water down bills in this area. They sort of balk and give lip service to much. Discrimination aside, they've done a terrific job with that. But I think that the legislature, I would like them to read the statistics more than the citizens.
Like maybe they're a little more extreme. So
yeah.
Does that happen? You look at the average everyday person, and I think they're probably more middle ground than sometimes who's elected, whether it's far right or far left. Does the legislature need to look at numbers like this and say we need to make changes? Because conversion therapy, I think a lot of people thought the support was there. It didn't pass. But it was a few years ago that we did pass something before a lot of other states did and said we're not going to have discrimination.
What the legislature has to do is maybe talk a little louder or let people know the degree to which we engage in those issues. Because when we did the religious liberty and anti-discrimination bill together, that compromise legislation, it's a model for the country. When I go to those national conventions of speakers of the House or state legislatures, Utah is often engaged by members of other legislative bodies of other states about how did we have a bill like that. This year, I know we talk about that conversion therapy, and look, my regret on that is there was time on the clock. There was far more work that could have been done. That bill was not killed in committee. It sat on the board in the House, circled. It absolutely had more time to be worked on.
So whose fault was it then?
Look, people that didn't have the political will to engage and talk to people that might not agree with them. You got to have, that bill had 6 legislative days left in a 33-day, 45 calendar day, but really 33 days. 6 days is a long time.
Right.
It's on that board ready to go.
Yeah.
They should have engaged. But in that same session, you saw hate crimes legislation pass. Okay? That's a bill that I have
how
voted.
many years?
I voted against that bill so many times I can't even tell you. But this bill had some smart differences to it, and you saw the legislature come together.
Was it the backing of the LDS Church finally?
I think that was part of it. I think for someone like me who actually did put in a good word for whatever that was worth, is that you weren't prescribing unique protections to just certain people, any of us, where a crime or something done to us has a ripple effect or a broader effect of impacting a larger community, whatever that may be, was being looked at or enhanced. And I think that's an important distinction. But look, that's why I'm saying I think the legislature does engage in those issues. I do think that we have let out around the country in terms of what we've done to try and find common ground that other states haven't done. But if people don't know that, I think we
the
have to tell
legislature
that
absolutely has been pushed out. And when they are pushed out, they will happily, I'm not going to say lead on that. I think that they have taken to heart when people have brought these issues to them and they have deliberated, but we've got a lot of room there because I think we have great legislators, but I think their representational slice of the pie is a little smaller than Utah is right now. That doesn't mean they can't reflect and be good leaders, but I do think there needs to be a sense of conscientiousness about the fact that they are maybe that themselves literally aren't representational, and that they do need to look a little more broadly. And because you're looking, I mean, Heidi asked a really good question about, or the Qs, was the LDS Church supportive at a Q for people? And I think it was, and I think that's okay. I'm a fan that says they're a player in town, and we should respect that. But also we have to see how diverse Utah is and how inclusive we are, and how okay with that we are.
And just for, consider this, and I know we got other topics, but we've had some changes nationally, even some Supreme Court decisions, where lawmakers would have had concerns, even myself, on some issues. Like, I didn't want to see faith-based adoption programs end, and they've ended.
Yeah, the LDS Church ended that.
The Catholics used to have a robust program in places like D.C. I didn't want to see that end. But if you are only going to place children, potentially, with a mother and a father, the recent Supreme Court decisions would call that discrimination. And so where it would conflict with religious belief, they've left that space. And so there was a time where I did not want to see faith-based adoption agencies closed down. I thought there was a good that was occurring there. But when that Supreme Court decision happened and they've closed, you don't have that. I mean, we're in a different era. We don't have that opposition to worry about or consequence, because that's already been decided, and it was decided outside of our hands. So so that allows us to now grapple with what issues we're confronted with. And so that'll happen more and more.
Yes, and I'm proud of Utah for leading #2 in the nation, ahead of San Francisco, the Northeast. It's a good thing. We'll take that award. All right, the Salt Lake City mayor's race, that's an award some people are fighting for right now. And interestingly enough, we've been talking about this the last couple of weeks, that there's billboards out there, and apparently there's a little hullabaloo over that, because 3 candidates got free billboards: Luz Escamilla, David Garbett, and David Ibarra. And those are out there for them, free advertising, because a PAC decided to put them out there. Not everyone got them. They didn't get to choose. Do they do any good, Maura? I see them on the freeway when I'm coming in. I'm commuting from the south end of the valley. So does it even matter that they're putting these billboards up?
So first, I'm just going to declare I'm Team David Ibarra, and so people should know that as they listen to my responses.
So you got some free advertising. Well, no. Did you like it?
Well, so I had nothing to do with the buy. So the issue of the PAC has the right to do that. They
can do whatever they want.
This is too easy. You should be way more on the defensive here, like I am all the time.
But so one thing I'll say, I mean, I don't know how much billboards. I clearly don't work for the billboard company, because I'm not sure in a local election that's where I'd put my money. I would put it into direct voter contact, because, as you said, commuters are seeing it. Yeah. I am a Salt Lake resident, and I don't know of how many boards I see. I will say it looks as though some candidates have purchased boards, interior boards, as we would call them, ones on the street, and I see those a little more. So the issue of PAC giving, I think we should bandy that around a little bit. How much? It doesn't look like any of the campaigns did anything inappropriate, and certainly this PAC, as we know, played in the last presidential election. I mean, these guys are pretty seasoned at this. In terms of, would I double down on billboards for a good election strategy? Probably not, but hey, free is free, I guess.
It's true. So should these PACs be considering maybe more condoms for people like Penfold? It's Penfold that's handling that, right?
That's right.
More of like the hand-to-hand, eye-to-eye contact with people?
Yeah, I mean, I still, my first love is
that
direct.
That whole comment made me uncomfortable.
I know.
I don't know why.
You were trying to follow that, weren't you?
But it's just
You were like,
no,
wait
I heard
a
about
minute.
it, but it's just,
You haven't seen, they have a picture of his
segue
dog
from
on
billboards
them.
Don't let your kids watch that.
She just said she liked more personal door-to-door contact, and I don't know how he hands out his condoms, but I believe that is his, like, instead of Frisbees or T-shirts, he's got condoms.
Are you blushing? I am actually. Every Friday I say it's 2019, it's a different place. I'm just trying to find my way. I really am.
Condoms are not new, and we should talk about those in school. That'll be another week.
Okay. All right. Can I just say, though, I think what the controversy is with Salt Lake City mayoral candidates and billboards is that for a long time, and we saw this in the legislature, there's people that hate billboards. Right. There's like a whole, it's a whole demographic. It's anti-billboards. I don't get it. Again, I think that with digital billboards, these lines are getting crossed, because if you go and you look at the Vivint Home Arena, they can have a digital sign.
Yeah.
What's a billboard now versus a shop's own digital sign? I've never known that billboards were just such a politically volatile issue in and of themselves. And I think that with technology making those billboards, I think a little bit more aesthetically pleasing. I think it's pleasing. I don't think it's like the old Vegas light bulbs that are just blinding you. I think you can get a lot more information. And anyway. I don't understand the whole political drama of billboards. I think but it's there, and so anybody that uses a billboard, I think what happens is some people try to tap into that anti-billboard demographic that runs around, and
All right,
so that's where they're getting.
So 3 people may be losing because their faces are on billboards.
That's right.
Do you know what? We're losing out right now by an extra 5 minutes so we could talk forever on this podcast because Ice Cube's in the house and
Yeah.
they're taking over the set. So
I'm
we
not
are going
leaving.
to call it quits right now. We have more issues to talk about, but we will talk about them next week. And maybe if Ice Cube wants to talk politics, we'll see if he'll come back next week.
Excellent.
The odds are not in our favor. Thanks for listening. Subscribe
Thank
and tell
you.
your friends about it.